Hey, let's go. Welcome back to our show tonight as Mike and I name our fantasy baseball all-stars ahead of next week's Midsummer Classic in Atlanta. But as we always do, we begin the show by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom! Right now. Welcome back, Mr. Nelson. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right.
Drinking the official drink of New York Yankee fans, wine.
Very good. With that, you are looking live at our split studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now, episode 45 for our show, part of the ball9.com podcast network.
Just looking at the National League All-Star roster and shaking my head. We will cover the National League and American League All-Star rosters, our picks, mine with a little bit of a twist. And as well as go get them, cut them, who's hot, who's not. And as always, smash the like button as we travel to you live via ball9.com, YouTube, Facebook. We'll do some updates on Twitter at some point. But how's your Disney trip, sir?
Disney was awesome.
We've not been together in 2 weeks. You were
2 weeks. Disney was awesome. Boys had a great time. I had a great time. So the second time we've been there since October, and only the second time I've been there my entire life. So it was great. You know, it was hot, hotter than it was last October, though we managed to not live through the hurricane thing that we did last year with Milton. We that was a lot of fun. Kids had a great time, and it's good to be home, kind of get back into settled back in. How were the woods? It's
a good place to be when the Yankees are on a 6-game losing streak and you have about 30% internet connection.
Yeah, we thought of you last week often during the show.
Yeah, I tried to jump on and harass you guys, and the squirrel passed out. He was just a little bit more inebriated than I was, but it's always good to get away. It's good to get away when your team's in the shit and you don't have to.
Well, Iron Brigade Bob did his best to whatever was in his cup. He was trying to match yours, so he did a nice job, and enjoyed having Bobby on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad it was on a Wednesday because there wasn't enough commentary to get me booted and Bob on as a permanent host. That's how Jay Leno got the job, you know.
Keep at it. Set a goal. Achieve it. All right. So all-star teams were announced Sunday. Everybody. Before we get to ours, and ours are the fantasy baseball all-stars, though I think a lot of them go hand in hand, because if you're doing good in fantasy, you're most likely doing good on the real thing. Anything stand out to you with the teams? There's two things for me, but I'll defer to you.
Well, I'll start with this, and this is to paraphrase my friend in Texas Ranger land, Jeff Bates, who started this today with, enough of every team has to be represented. Can we please stop? Either expand the rosters, make an exemption for the home team where you're always going to have a player.
Yeah.
Enough of the every team needs to be. It's enough. Like Seiya Suzuki not on the All-Star team is a travesty when Kyle Stowers and Hunter Goodman's having a fine year, but Brandon Donovan, Suzuki's having a better year than all of them.
Yeah, he is.
Not even close. Acuna getting voted in. Come on. Like at some point in time, we gotta be, at some point, and honestly, up to the last couple of days, Max Muncy was leading at third base. And I don't even know if he would be the highest he would possibly be is third behind Gino Suarez and Machado. And while we're on Manny Machado,
2,000 hits, 2K.
And 350 homers. That's a Hall of Fame trajectory career that he has going. I hate the guy. He's a really good baseball player.
He is getting there. He
But
is
being
getting
banished
there.
to San Diego, where they get so little, even when they're good, there's so little coverage. He just plays baseball and piles up stats. It, I mean, good for him.
Well, he just turned 33.
I know. So he's got
Last 2 days ago, right? 2 days ago, turned 33. Is 3,000 out of the question?
oof.
He could play 10 more years if he wanted to.
Yeah, if he
Right?
wanted to. And
Guys
he's
are
not
playing older.
yeah. Half the time it doesn't look like he's motivated to play 10 more games. That's my problem with him. He came up when he was 18, right? So he's played 14 seasons. So that means that he's averaging 125 hits. He'd have to play 8 more years at 125 hit clip to get 3,000. It's not out of the question. I mean, it's him or Freeman, and then nobody for 3,000 hits. So I mean, hopefully one of them hangs around long enough to get it.
Yeah. You know, I thought a nice weekend. I did parlays to the All-Star game. Thrilled for Clayton Kershaw. Happy they gave him a nod. You know, give him one last curtain call in the All-Star game. I'm happy they got him in there.
I'm a huge Clayton Kershaw fan. In
Yeah,
fact,
me too.
when we did our all-time fantasy baseball rosters, Clayton Kershaw was in my 5-pitcher starting rotation.
He's a Team Pugsley Hall of Famer.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He'll be the last pitcher to get 3,000 strikeouts, very sadly. There's such a gap between him and the next possible player, who might be Yu Darvish at 71 years old. Like, there won't be another 3,000 strikeout pitcher because he's the old school of the old school. It's a nice gesture. It's a nice gesture. I just think the All-Star game, I mean, we've talked about this before, and what it is today, like we're going to be on Wednesday because the game's on Tuesday. I'm not even going to, I probably won't even watch it. I'll probably watch the player introductions, and then that'll be it for me. Like,
Here's
there's
where
no
I'll
allure
watch
to watch the game anymore. At least this year they'll have their own uniform on.
That's why.
Which will be great.
I can't tolerate that other garbage, and even the home run derby ones, they just look stupid. But
yeah, I don't mind if they can wear whatever the hell they want in home run derby. Frankly, I could care less. They could.
Yeah, I don't care about that either. I never really watch it. But the All-Star game, part of the allure, part of the history of it for me being a kid, back in the day, for me, All-Star game was the longest day of the summer, waiting for the game.
The picture of the All-Stars in their own uniforms, and you go through the years.
Yep.
Right, the games that we grew up on in the 70s and early 80s, when almost the entire starting lineup for both teams is now in the Hall of Fame. It just, there's nothing for these. They don't need the money for winning or losing. Home field, they've tried everything. Home field, they've tried it all to try to make it worthwhile. And frankly, I think these guys would prefer to just have the day off. Like, they get it for the fans, and they do it. And the players, people aren't begging out of the All-Star game. There will be some injury replacements for sure, but like, Ryan O'Hearn making it finally after a million years, that's nice. I mean, that's kind of a nice thing, but it's just internet voting has screwed this up beyond recognition. Because the fan vote is so out of whack, as opposed to the old dangling Chad paper ballot that you used to have to fill out at the stadium. And you could get them. You could get them at sporting goods stores, and you could. They were placed so you could get them. You could mail them in. I mean, I mailed mine in many years. Had to get an All-Star ballot. Sporting News had it. There'd be an All-Star ballot in the Sporting News. So, like, all that stuff that took away the being attached to the game, right? Now you can vote 5 times a day. And if I was compelled, I could have voted 5 times a day for 20 days.
Yep.
Like 100 votes for the same guy. And if an entire fan base jumps on board, then Ronald Acuna's in the All-Star game.
Sure.
And not that, I mean, and he's having, for coming back when he came back, he's made a huge difference in their lineup. He's having a really good year. He's not having a better year than Juan Soto or Corbin Carroll. Not even close.
He's not. He's not. Yeah, I thought Carroll was on my roster. He was like on the next up. We put together rosters for our teams, 9 hitters and 7 pitchers, right?
Yeah.
And then some bench guys. So
and then 5 on the bench. So we mirrored our roster. So let's just take a peek at the National League. And if there's somebody in parentheses, so Sean's picks are noted. And if there's somebody in parentheses, it's who I would have selected instead of who Sean picked. And from a starter standpoint, I agreed with every single one of your starters.
Wow, that's never happened.
And I did not want to agree with Pete Alonso, but I looked at it strictly for total fantasy points and head-to-head by player to this point.
Yep.
That's what I looked at. And I didn't do 3 outfielders because on my bench because I didn't want to do 3 outfielders, and Schwarber was so high he had to make it. Yamamoto has less fantasy points than Webb, Sanchez, and Sonny Gray, and Matthew Boyd.
Wow.
Yeah, what a story that is. I think I brought that up early, that he was a sleeper because he closed the year pretty well. He closed the year pretty well with Cleveland last year, and he's been phenomenal for the Cubs. Senga, I never picked because he's been hurt.
He has. I kind of rewarded him for what he gave the Mets before he got hurt. So when I looked at the guys who I would fill out my bench, Schwarber, Trey Turner, Webb, Soto, and Christopher. Soto not making the All-Star team was a shocker for me. Just given the name value and everything, I thought that would help him make the team.
I thought Edwin Diaz was as much of a shocker. I thought Edwin Diaz was as much of a shocker as Soto not making the team was. But they took Jason Adam and Robert Suarez, for that matter, took Jason Adam and Randy Rodriguez to honor setup guys, I guess. I mean, that's where the game is, right? The bullpen's the bullpen. You're taking the best bullpen guys you can take. I mean, they are 2 of the best setup men in baseball. Randy Rodriguez has been phenomenal. Adam's been mostly really good. I mean, Wheeler was, for both of us, that's an easy pick.
Yeah, he's crazy good.
I mean, so the starters are Smith, Freeman. We both have Alonso. Neither of us have Freeman on this team. Marte, there's really no other choice at second base.
I'll tell you what. After
we
what
both had Gio Suarez, but Machado's the starter.
After what Marte had to deal with that asshole fan a few weeks ago, I hope he gets the biggest roar Tuesday night.
Yeah, I agree with that. We both have Ellie De La Cruz, and Lindor is the starter. De La Cruz has like 70 more total fantasy points than him on the season to this point.
Yep.
And he's must-watch. He's a must-watch player.
He is. He's the type of guy.
The outfield, though, we both had James Wood, who deserves it as much, if not more, than any of the 3 starters for what he's doing. Will Smith's an easy, and Shohei's an easy. I mean, it's not even close.
I think guys like De La Cruz and PCA and Wood, that's what makes the All-Star game more interesting for me, is these younger guys, this next wave of superstars. I get it. Alonso's been there for a few years, and, some of the other starters and whatnot. but watching the kids go out there and play, I think they bring a lot of juice and energy to the game. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most.
I agree. I agree with that. But this is what happens when you have to have somebody from every team.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Sale's going to be replaced by I don't know who, right? So Chris Sale made the team. He's going to be replaced. I mean, Mackenzie Gore makes it, but James Wood already had made it. I mean, Fernando Tatis deserves to be on the All-Star team. Fernando Tatis has more fantasy points than both Soto and Corbin Carroll. Now, Corbin Carroll missed time.
Yep.
And that goes into it. And, just like I wouldn't pick Senga, that goes into it for me. You have to have plate. Trey Turner and Francisco Lindor are separated by 0.3 of a point, and Turner has more points. He's produced more fantasy value in the first half of the season than has Lindor. I mean, Kyle Stowers is probably the easy pick for and oh, by the way, the break up the Marlins. What the heck?
There's a light in Miami.
Hottest team in baseball in the last 25 days.
That's crazy.
It's insanity. They're in third place in the East.
That's nuts.
They're like 24-7 in the last 32 games or so, 31 games, and they're winning tonight. I mean, Matt Olson, really?
That, I honestly,
really?
I love Matt Olson. He's one of my favorite players. I had him on my fantasy team forever. If that game's not in Atlanta, I don't think he's in it. He's got 17 homers. He's got 50 plus RBIs. He's putting up the numbers, but it doesn't scream all-star.
No. I mean, the Phillies could have loaded this team. I mean, the Phillies literally could have loaded this team. I mean, Luzardo had a case. Ranger Suarez had a case. I mean, nobody in their bullpen has a case. I mean, their best pitcher's not back till August 19th. And their bullpen. I mean, first base, obviously, there's plenty of players. Their first base is fairly deep in the National League. But, I mean, I know the Cardinals are having a nice year. Izzy Herrera would have got, if Izzy Herrera wasn't hurt and he had played the first half and Hunter Goodman got selected and he didn't because they had to take a Rocky, he would be getting screwed from being in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And Brandon Donovan's I guess he's their best offensive player. I don't know how they're winning games. Everybody contributes I guess it's a different player every night with them. But Sonny Gray's been their best player, and he didn't make the team. And I would have taken Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make any secret that I'm not a Sonny Gray fan because he's weak. He's emotionally weak, and he can't pitch in New York. And that's all there is to it. To me, he's Ed Whitson. You're the same guy. Randy Johnson. Go ahead, make the Hall of Fame. Get a bunch of strikeouts. You couldn't pitch in New York. Nobody cared. You can make it there. You can make it anywhere. You can't make it there. You can't make it anywhere, as far as I'm concerned.
I heard that in a song one time.
I know. How much money is Kyle Tucker going to get paid, and who's going to pay it to him?
The Cubs can't let him get out of town. They got to pay him.
Yeah, they kind of do, don't they?
You can't let him get to free agency. You can't.
Scott Boras doesn't negotiate during the season.
That's a tough sell. They cannot let him get away, period. No. And, we got to talk about Pete Crow Armstrong. We were all over him in the offseason.
Yeah.
Neither one of us drafted him in our main league. I have him in the head-to-head league.
I could have saved him.
He went quicker than I thought he would, but man, is he something.
Yeah.
Another guy I should
Yeah.
mention. You talk about young guys in the All-Star game and what make it special. To me, those are the guys.
Yeah, we'll give Uncle Ted a PCA shout out too because he was also all over him early. He's gonna get MVP votes.
Yep. Now
I
let's
mean, he
go to the AL because the shocker in the starters.
oh for God's sakes, don't please. All right.
Look, I put Jacob Wilson in because I'm a homer. Okay.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. And
Well,
so the outfield we agree on the outfield,
yeah.
and how in good fuck that Javi Baez and All-Star are even in the same sentence, let
Yeah.
alone he's starting.
It's crazy.
Like, are you gotta be like, you gotta be kidding me. I was surprised, honestly, that Vladdy was the top fantasy points producer in the American League because I would have thought that Aranda would have had more points, and it was kind of close, but it wasn't that close.
Yeah.
Because Guerrero's not having a great year. I mean, Raleigh, obvious. That's Raleigh and Judge are probably easily the two most obvious picks in the American League. It's not even.
Gleyber Torres surprised me. I'm surprised Wilson got it over Bobby Witt because Witt's just having a better year, and he's a bigger name value.
He's having a better year.
Yeah, yeah. I'm stunned that Wilson won that
I'm
vote.
not. I mean, that Sacramento fan base is ravenous, man.
Yeah, all 2,000 of them because the other 6 are usually the visiting team.
Sit in a pink folding chair for $150.
$150. Anyway, they should at least they can't put a cushion on that seat.
No, bring your own chair. It's $200. Jesus Christ. I like the Junior Caminero pick, and he deserves to be an all-star.
He does. And the reason I put him in, and I love Jose Ramirez. Ramirez has a lot more steals than Caminero. I like what Caminero brings in the other 4 categories.
Yeah.
Enough to offset what Ramirez
player.
does on the base pass.
And they've surprised. I mean, I don't know. Actually, they probably haven't because it's just like beating a dead horse with them. Without he and Aranda, they were. Well, I mean, like they produced, right? Brandon Lau's produced, like they produced offensively, which is not usual for them. Usually they limp along pitching wise. Ramirez has more fantasy points and value, so he got the nod for me.
Yep.
Had Jeremy Pena not been hurt, he would have ended up from a fantasy point standpoint, he would have ended up as the deserved starter in the American League. He was having a really good year before he got hurt.
Yep.
But he got hurt. So Witt starts for me. Wilson goes to the bench.
What about Gleyber Torres? Does that stick in your craw a little bit?
No. I don't root against except for Sonny Gray. When players leave the Yankees, I don't root against them. I just don't care. I don't care if Juan Soto wins a Triple Crown. I just don't care. He's not on my team anymore. I mean, I'm a huge Juan Soto fan. Yeah. I was always a big Gleyber fan. He's still only 27 years old. He's probably feeling free of the burden of playing of the expectation. And he's having a really good year. He's having the best year of any second baseman in the American League.
I took Brandon Lau for that spot, even though I've kind of been banging on him the first 2 months of the year. I thought he was a little overrated, but he's kind of gotten it going.
Yeah.
And that I don't get how Tampa Bay is good every year. I don't get it.
I stopped.
They just are.
There's no rhyme or reason for it.
No.
There's no rhyme or reason. Mark Littell is on a tear right now, and Mark Littell shouldn't even be in baseball. The kid they called up on Sunday, Boyce, I don't know where they got him from. He had a career 19% walk rate. He ends up on the Rays, and now he's at 10.2% walk rate. So whatever they do from a player development standpoint, they do it better than anybody.
Yeah, they do it well.
They do it really, really well. Brent Worker would be my DH. He's the highest rate DH.
I was shocked that he made the team just because I didn't think the Aths would get two people. You know,
I was kind of surprised. I guess I was more surprised to that point. I thought that Mason Miller would make it over Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, you know, Miller.
Boston's not very well. I mean, Bregman was, who will be replaced, was voted in as a reserve, and he would have deserved it had he played. He might have been the highest producing third baseman in the American League had he continued to stay healthy.
For sure.
I mean, I don't have a lot of beef other than you say Kikuchi making it over Joe Ryan, actually, or Shane Smith, or Brian Wu,
yeah,
or Chris Bubik for that matter. Any of those guys making it over Joe Ryan, that's a travesty that he did not make the team. They're playing like crap. Byron Buxton certainly deserved it. We both had him as a starter, and I believe he deserved to be a starter.
The Twins and the Guardian, don't call us Indians, are having a contest to who can shit the bed the worst here.
Yeah, I agree with
heading
that.
Into the break.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Tigers, the Tigers can start calling kids up for spot starts at this point.
Yep.
I mean, it's just insane. But I mean, I guess who else from the Angels? Zachary Neto started the season on the injured list, and he's having an all-star-ish season, but shortstop so deep, he wasn't going to make it. Certainly nobody else on the infield. Shanuel's a really nice player, but he's certainly not having a better first half than Guerrero or Aranda. I mean, he's having a first half that's closer to Paul Goldschmidt than it is to either one of those two guys. Logan O'Hoppy's been a massive offensive disappointment in the first half, so there's no way he was going to make it. I mean, Alejandro Kirk as the backup catcher, it would have been Austin Wells would make it by fantasy point value.
Yeah, but
I don't have much of a problem with Kirk.
Yeah, 212 batting average at Wells is anchored to is tough.
Yeah.
He gets some counting stats, and that's his value.
I kind of wish Sal Perez would have got that spot. I don't know how many more bites at this apple of an all-star game he's going to have.
Okay, on that note, could baseball have put Mike Trout in and left Kikuchi home for somebody else?
They could have. They certainly could have. Though who? So Buxton obviously deserves it.
Yep.
Stephen Kwan deserves it. Julio Rodriguez does not deserve to be an all-star.
No, I don't think so.
Trout missed a ton of time too. So Trout, if Trout was at the point in his career, I mean, he's only 33. For God's sakes, it's hard to believe. If Trout was at the point in his career where he was Kershaw, he came back on a 1-year deal. This is it.
Yep.
It was the Albert Pujols, Miggy Cabrera thing, right? We're going to have these guys. I mean, it is a nice honor. If he was at that point, yeah, he would have been a clown commissioner's exemption, and he would have made it. But he doesn't deserve it. You can make the argument for those two guys that play in the outfield for the Angels over Trout pretty easily.
Joe Adell,
Ward. You can make an argument for both of those guys. Joe Adell, good.
I love what Joe Adell is doing. I am so happy for him.
He's only 28, man.
Yep. Yep, all the potential in the world, and he's finally cashing in on it. Good for him.
There's a kid's book that we used to read to the kids called Leo the Late Bloomer. Maybe he's Leo the Late Bloomer.
Leo, the late bloomer. I must have missed that day.
But for like Brian Wu over Logan Gilbert on the same staff, like, come on.
Gilbert was hurt, so you go back to the injury thing.
Yeah, Wu's had a
nice year.
He's had a really nice year. He's had a really nice year.
I couldn't put Rodon on my team just because
you
couldn't do it.
Just get over it.
I'll never get over
it.
I'll never get over it.
Get over it.
That's not within my capacity.
As I've railed on Sonny Gray 3 times, I'm telling you to get over anything. Jesus.
I'm still pissed about the immaculate incompletion in December of 1972 for crying out loud. So fucking A. If I'm not over that, Rodon is way down on the list of me to pardon from offending me in my sports universe in my lifetime.
Yeah,
he's not even there. Okay,
that's a fair point. That's a very fair point. Hader Munoz, pretty easy selections, I think.
I thought so. You brought up Mason Miller. His other stats are kind of ugly. He had a couple really bad games.
Which besides those two guys? I mean, Munoz had a really bad game, but besides those two guys, who hasn't?
They all have. You look at Miller, though, the ERA is pretty high and everything, so I think it's easy to move on from him. He doesn't have a ton of saves because they don't win a lot of games, and their games are all high
really
scoring.
Don't.
He doesn't get a lot of save chances even when they win. But he was the highlight last year for me watching him pitch in the All-Star game because a lot of people didn't know who he was.
Yeah. But that goes back to your earlier point when these young guys that get a chance to be in the All-Star game finally get a chance to be in the All-Star game, then it's pretty special. Like the majority of the baseball world has no idea who Jonathan Aranda is.
Yep.
They just don't. They don't have any idea. Most of the rest of the American League guys are pretty household names. I think there was 17 first-time All-Stars this year. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a big number.
That's pretty good. I keep scrolling by Javi Baez's name. And it makes me a little bit insane.
It is shocking.
I mean, they definitely deserve some players given the way that they're playing. He is not one of them.
Hey, speaking of making you crazy, let's talk about the New York Yankees.
They won Sunday.
True. I was really, really praying for a sweep. I love the Rep BX Yankee people on Twitter. Why does Aaron Boone have a job?
Why? That's why I'm drinking wine, my friend.
Even Cashman. I mean, I know they won Sunday, but you look at the lineup and Dominguez, who had, I'm watching the game Saturday, and I see Dominguez will get a home run, and he gets on bases next time. And I've been looking at him in our fantasy league. I'm like, I'm in the shitter. I'm now in 11th place out of 12. Why don't I go pick this kid up? Maybe he has a big second half and give me something to invest in. And I didn't do it for a few days. Then I saw him hit a home run, and I'm watching the rest of the game Saturday. I'm like, all right, if he homers again, I'm going to go pick him up. And literally that ball went over the fence, and I got up and walked to my computer and picked him up. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, 3 for 5, 2 home runs, and then the next day he's not in the lineup.
They benched him. And who else they benched? They benched somebody else who's been playing really well too.
That shit makes me insane. Like, I can't even explain to you how crazy that makes me. I can't even explain how crazy that makes me. So here's an interesting fact for all you Yankee fans that want to jump off a bridge and fire everybody and trade the whole team every time they lose 2 in a row. And it's now been called the Boone June swoon. On June 13th of last year, they went into a tailspin. They lost 17 out of 26. 17 out of 20. This year they had lost 16 out of 20, and it started on the exact same day.
Wow.
And had they not lost, won on Sunday. No, they went. Yeah, they lost 17 out of 20, and if they gotten swept on Sunday, it would have been the exact same thing over the exact same period of time, covering the exact same calendar days as a year ago. And as a reminder, they went to the World Series last year.
Yep.
So it's only July, right? I mean, you can't say that if you're the Rockies. You can't say that if you're the Pirates. You can't say that if you're the White Sox. It's only July. You can't. But you certainly can say it if you're pretty much everybody else in baseball right now. You can't say it to the Nationals. And that's the other thing that got everybody wigging out is that the Nationals, to me, kind of surprisingly, cleaned house the other day.
They had to.
They did, but
they were coming up that if they didn't do something, I don't know the date, but I think it's in the next week, then they were guaranteed their contracts next year. And Martinez, you might have been away when he threw his team under the bus in one of his post gamers.
He was there a long time.
Won a World Series.
He sure did.
Rizzo.
But the last time they made the playoffs was 2019. I mean, he was there for 10 years. Rizzo was there since the Lerners bought the team. I mean, that's a good, bad, or indifferent. Like, that's a lot of consistency in your organization. And knowing what you are and feeling like you have the right guys, I understand that. Thinking you're something you're not and believing you have the right guys, that's the Yankees. The downside is, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times. Cashman's got the same job security as a Supreme Court justice. He apparently can't get fired. I mean, the guy rode the coattails of Gene Michael, Bob Watson and Gene Michael to win some World Series. He didn't do any work to do it. All those players were selected, developed before he got there. Boone is becoming Mike Tomlin, right? Where you're going to get in the playoffs every year, but it's not enough.
Yep.
But who do you go get? That's the problem. Like, who's the guy? Bring back Buck Showalter. Bring back Joe Girardi. How about no? How about don't bring back either of those two guys? How about don't bring back the ghost of Billy Martin? Don't dig up Miller Huggins. Don't find Casey Stengel. How about no?
Bob Lemon kicking around?
Bob Lemon,
just guy in 78.
I mean, bring the whole ghost crew back. What the hell?
World Series.
He did. Bring back Dick Hauser. Bring them all back. What the hell? It doesn't. Who at this point? Stump Merrill. Let's trot him out. It's part of the problem of having a long and rich history as a franchise is that everybody gets compared to what was great. Everybody gets compared to what was great. They're never they're never just what they are on their face. I don't think Aaron Boone's a good manager. I really don't. I really never thought he was a good manager. I think he's too easy. I don't think he has the balls to stand up to his players, even behind closed doors, which is where it should happen anyway. Because the old school of throwing your guys under the bus just doesn't work with these guys.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he can. And like when you have to manage a baseball game, I don't think he's a good manager. Like situational managing, how to handle your bullpen. I mean, he's going to blow Mark Leiter out. He's ineffective right now because he's pitched every day for a year, like he did with Chad Green and Jonathan Loaizaga and countless other guys that he was his guy, confident in, they can get outs until they can't. And then you get so loyal to those guys that they start losing you games and he never makes a change. And that's the part that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
You know, the Dominguez 3 for 5 and then he's benched. There
wasn't even a lefty on the hill.
I don't even know what finally precipitated them to move Jazz back to second base. And they did sign who did the Reds? Candelario to a minor league deal. So maybe he'll end up playing third base some for them. I mean, I don't know.
Is it pain watching Giancarlo Stanton play baseball right now? He doesn't look ready.
It's a little sad.
Yeah, he doesn't look ready, and he's out
It's a
there. And
it's a little sad. I feel like I'm watching Willie Mays on the '73 Mets.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like he had a dominant postseason. Like he just doesn't look. He just doesn't. He never met a slider he could hit, and he can't lay off the damn thing. But he just doesn't look like the Stanton that you want him to look like, right? So he's not
yeah,
really. Now he could wake up in the seventh inning tonight, hit 2 homers in the seventh and the ninth, and go on a tear and literally carry that team like he did for times when Judge was hurt. I mean, he can
yeah,
definitely carry. He still has it, but to see him like a broken down version of himself, I just it's a little sad.
yeah. It's tough. Hey, before we get to hot and not, I just saw this nugget. Will Clark is now confirmed. The
Oh God,
Giants offered to have Clark mentor Rafi Devers at first base after the trade from Boston. Devers didn't show up 3 days in a row.
yeah, it's good
So
work.
what happened to all that malarkey at his press conference saying whatever they need?
Yeah, that's mind boggling to me.
Yes.
Buster Posey must be out of his mind. How do you think that fly? How do you think that flies with him, of all people? Like one of the most competitive human beings that ever played baseball,
Sure.
and he's hearing that out of his $300+ million acquisition that he made.
Inherited.
That he. Oh, geez, O'Neill Cruz homer tonight.
Oh, you have him for a few more days after trading him today.
And so did Nick Gonzalez, and that's probably somebody everybody should put on a little bit of a watch list if you're thinking about where do I find a second baseman. Just pay a little attention to Nick Gonzalez.
You ready for hot and not?
I am ready for hot and not. Well, let's start with hot because that's the easiest place. Like the weather's been for the last month down here. Look at that. We talked about the Pirates, and look what happens.
They got 2 runs. They scratched across a couple against Seth Lugo tonight.
They did. Yeah. How about that? Not the same matchup, but so I'm going to go first because
go ahead.
Mitch Keller's 2-part for me. So not only has he been phenomenal in his last 2 starts, 0.73 ERA, 0.97 WHIP, 2 wins, 11 Ks and 12 1/3. And I get it, he's 3-10, but he's still a 1.19 WHIP, 3.64 ERA, K and inning guy. He's 73% owned. He's only 49% started, and I don't know how you don't start hot pitchers, especially when one of their starts is going to be against a team that doesn't score any runs.
He has just did tonight. He's in the 7th inning, 6 1/3, 3 hits, 5 Ks, 1 run.
He's had 2 kind of iffy starts, but he's much better than 3-10. Yeah. Just like Skeens is better than 4-7. He's better than 3-10. Starting pitching has not been the problem in Pittsburgh. Scoring runs has been the problem. But he's probably the most likely pitcher on their staff to get traded. Because he's going to bring. I don't know why the Pirates would trade a guy with 2 years of control in their own division, but Ben Cherington clearly used to know a lot about baseball, but he's forgotten it all in the last 2 or 3 years. He is extraordinarily hot. He's definitely worth. At this point, he should be higher than 73% rostered, and he 100% should be higher than 49% started.
Yeah, I think both these guys pictured are going to get traded by the end of the month.
Yeah, if Cole Reagans could come back and pitch, but I don't think he's going to.
Well, Bob and I talked about it last week on what should the Royals do? Are they buyers or sellers? And my point last week was, if they don't get hot, and they had lost, I think, 8 out of 10 at the time I said this, I'm like, if they don't get it going before the All-Star break, then they're going to have to dump. I mean, Detroit, Detroit's going to they're 14 and a half out of Detroit. They're gone, right?
But they're only 5 out of the wild. They're only 5 out of the wild card.
They are. I hope they stay in it. I hope Lugo stays there. I enjoy watching the Royals. But he would be a nice get for somebody at the trade deadline, Atlanta or somebody. Well, Atlanta's DOA too. So, but they would both look good on other teams pitching who need some starting rotation help to finish up the year, make the
Yeah,
playoffs.
Seth Lugo would be a good Yankee.
He's heading into tonight. You know, it's funny. Mitch Kelber is out dueling him a little bit, but
Not anymore because he just gave up a homer.
Oh, did he? Okay, that game's 3-2. 6 innings, 4 hits, a walk, 5 strikeouts. Ranked 9th in CBS the last 21 days, 3-0 and 31 Ks in 24 innings,
Yeah.
which is nice. 1.11 ERA, 0.95 WHIP. The Seth Lugo from last year, who became a favorite of the show, is at it again.
Well, he came back off the injured list, and he's been phenomenal.
Yep.
He's been phenomenal. Like both of these guys on teams that are like scuffling have been tremendous.
They have. All right, let's get to who's not. I've been waiting for this for days.
Oh, this will be so much fun.
So, do you mind if I go first?
No, not at all.
Thank you. 75% of CBS owners have Anthony Volpe. I'm sorry, never again Volpe after what he did to me last year. 40% are starting this guy. He's ranked a mere 444th in his last 21 days to go with that robust 136 batting average. Yeah, he's got a couple homers and some RBIs. On top of all that, was that a heel turn on Saturday or Sunday when he threw the ball and hit it?
Yeah, he did a little John Cena.
Was that Seth Rollins taking the chair to Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose there?
Those are Ric Flair uppercut to the lower regions.
They said it was a routine thing to throw the ball to the outfielder when they're coming off, but Judge missed the cue and took one off the noggin. You know, Volpe, I read something on him last year. They said Yankee fans love him because he's from Jersey and he's Italian. I don't know if that's true or not, but man.
They're both true.
And he had
and add to it that he grew up a Yankee fan. You can add that to it too.
And he had a horrific night in the field the other night too, which made all the highlight reels too. He's just throwing the ball everywhere.
So that's where, to my brethren on Yankee Twitter who all want him DFA'd, I don't know who. I mean, there's really no other option to play shortstop. Peraza, I guess he can't hit his ass. But that's where this is Boone again. He never gets a day off.
Yeah.
He has had one day off in like the last month. Or just maybe he takes a day off and he writes himself. Paul O'Neill said it best when I was watching a game a week or so ago when Michael Kay said, would you like to see Volpe start hitting the ball the opposite way and just making hard contact and getting on base? And O'Neill's like, absolutely. Like, he doesn't need to hit 30 homers as a shortstop. They don't need him to hit 30 homers. They need him to get on base and create some havoc. He should be a leadoff hitter. He can't because he can't get on base enough. But he does walk. I mean, the team leads the league in walks. But, yeah, he's definitely frustrating. I certainly wouldn't. I mean, emotionally, I wouldn't roster him because he'd make me angry, and I don't want to be angry about Anthony Volpe. But I wouldn't start him for anything right now because he can't hit crap.
No, he's still started in 40% of leagues. He's
crazy. Pulling off everything. He's not diving on the ball and going the opposite way. He's trying to hit everything out.
Yeah.
And that's not good. And then for me, so I mean, I know that Volpe's hitting 136, but Ian Happ's hitting 128 in the last 2 weeks. And like if he's not, I mean, he does have a homer and 7 RBIs, but if he's still 71% active. Like he goes through these struggles. And I don't like. I feel like he's so much better than I feel like we think he's so much better than he really is.
He's the type of guy I can't stand owning because for the good you get, you want more of it. And sooner or later, it's just not going to be there. And he's frustrating. And then as soon as you bench him, he goes nuts.
You're right.
And that's the worst type of guy to have on your fantasy team.
Yeah, I agree.
The worst type of guy.
I agree. I mean, I wouldn't cut him because he does have value, and when he's hot, he does have value. But like, I certainly wouldn't be one of the 71% people that have him active. There's a million outfielders that you could plug in for a week,
Yep.
and maybe in the go get him, one of those guys would be who you selected in your go get him.
He's owned by 37%, started by 28. He's not going to hit any home runs. Forget that. But his last 3 weeks, he's hitting 400. He's 6 stolen bases, got 8 runs, 8 RBIs. He's contributing for the Rockies.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. Again, the home runs, look somewhere else. But you could do a lot worse than Tyler Freeman.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it wasn't that long ago that this guy was being talked about as an ace for the Marlins and as the biggest trade chip that they had to move before he got injured. And yes, it is an Oreo. I am selecting an Oreo. But Trevor Rogers, he's only 51% owned. He's only 26% started.
Yep.
His last 2 starts, he's got 2 wins, a .87 whip and a 1.57 ERA, and he's a 1-to-1 K guy. He's their best pitcher right now.
They're winning. They're winning again against the Mets tonight. They're up 6-2 in the 7th. Jackson Holiday just homered. Can they
another
make
guy
a
that probably
run?
should be on the All-Star team, but he's not.
Can they make a run? They're 9 games under 500. A long way to go. They were on my team that they should be buyers in the trade deadline. Do you worry about the Orioles making a run?
No. Nope. No, I don't. I don't worry about the Orioles making a run. I don't worry about the Orioles making a run at all. They're 7.5 out of the wild card. Could they make the wild card? Yeah, they still could.
Yeah.
I mean, could they make enough of a run to make the wild card? Yeah, they
There's
could.
time. It's July 8th. We're not in August yet.
They could. I mean, their offense certainly would allow them to do that, but
yeah,
O'Hearn will probably get traded, right? That's probably going to – Cedric Mullins is probably going to get traded.
Hey,
all over Cedric Mullins.
Quick update. Giancarlo Stanton must have been watching the show between the bats because he just hit a 3-run homer.
See, this is why you don't panic.
We got Matt Olson going last week. Bobby and I did, and now we did the same with Giancarlo Stanton. Do that shit after the show, please. After.
Yeah. Don't interrupt us like with information that we have to change our mind about our previous stance. That's ridiculous.
No, he looks
fine. He looks fine. Just got to make contact. Just got to lay off the slider.
Yeah, right.
And then, as usual, these 2 poor bastards.
You can go first on this one.
Well, the only reason I am saying cut Brooks Lee is that Royce Lewis is back, and for the moment he's healthy. And Lee was playing third, but with Lewis back, he's gonna play, and he's gonna lose it. I mean, Cairo and Lewis are going to be in the lineup 90% of the time, and Brooks Lee, who's still 33% owned, like you can't have platoon players on your roster, even when you've got middle corner infield as a position to fill on your roster. You always need guys that are going to play every day because no stats aren't as good as some stats, and he's just not going to play enough to be of any fantasy value. Lewis has no trade. They're not going to trade Lewis at the deadline. The Twins never make moves at the deadline anyway. I mean, Cairo could be moved and Lee could be back in business, but I mean, I don't see the Twins. I see the Twins looking at all these additions they're going to have because of injury, and being just like the Royals 5 games out and thinking, you know what, we have enough pitching. If we get everybody healthy, we can make a little run here and we can get in a wild card.
Yeah.
We know the Angels are going to fade because they're the Angels.
They're the Angels.
The Rangers have not shown. I mean, they sent Josh Young down, which is shocking.
Yeah.
They can't get out of their own way for whatever reason. The Red Sox are playing really good baseball. They have 0 pitching, and they'll do something foolish at the deadline. I mean, certainly the wild card's there to be had. So I guess if the Orioles at 7.5 out, I mean, from the Orioles up, I'll probably feel like, we got a half a shot to make the wild card. Why are we gonna we're not gonna do anything rash?
Yeah,
to gut our team. And the A's aren't going to trade anybody until the day after they move to Vegas, if they ever, which isn't going to happen. But if they were to hypothetically move to Vegas, they're not going to make any moves because they'll trade all those guys 4 days after they get there and go back to being, 52 and 110.
We brought up last week the Severino heel turn. That
he's not wrong.
I know he's not wrong. He's 100% right. But
he signed the contract.
He did sign the contract because nobody else was going to give him that money. No. And I'm pretty sure I researched it that it is true that the A's have to stay over that salary threshold all year to avoid the Player Association grievance possibility.
Probably.
And if they trade Severino, they're going to go under.
Unless they get salary back.
Yeah, maybe.
They're going to have to get salary back. Like, who else is in a contract year that somebody would want to dump because they're not playing because they're playing like crap?
Yep.
I mean, Nick Martinez is probably similar in salary. Brady Singer. So I don't think they'd trade Brady Singer with the Reds. I mean, I don't see who the Mets would give them back. He's making more money than McGill or Peterson or any of the other direct that they're starting right now.
Yeah.
They don't really need position players.
No, that's the last thing they need. My cut is Taj Bradley.
Yeah.
And I've had Taj Bradley on every team I've ever owned.
Yeah.
He's only 24. He's owned by 72% of teams, started by 31. Last 21, 6.63 ERA, 1.37 whip, 13 strikeouts, 19 innings. His best role, here's why I say cut him. Cut him and pray somebody else picks him up and make him somebody else's problem. That they're going to believe in him and actually start him because he shows you flashes of brilliance and then he just gets blown up.
There's a pitcher in the All-Star game that was exactly like that until this year.
Who's that?
Mackenzie Gore.
True. Very true.
Right?
That's what Taj Bradley is right now.
And Mackenzie Gore would have, if we did this last year or the year before, Mackenzie Gore would have shown up in this spot as the same thing as Taj Bradley.
He'll drive you nuts because you see all-star potential in him.
Yep.
Like 1 every 4 starts. That's just my perception.
Yeah, but the other 3 are so bad.
They're terrible. That's why I say he still has a name value. Trade him or cut him and hope somebody else picks him up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's addition by subtraction for your fantasy team. Because somebody else is getting terrible stats.
I would do everything in my power not to have him on my roster.
Yeah,
because of that level of frustration. I'd rather have middling consistency than flashes of brilliance. And because in flashes of brilliance, that brilliance almost always comes on your bench.
And look, I'm not heartless. Last week, I was killing Will Warren for lighting up my team during the show last Wednesday night. He's still in my lineup, and he's pitching great tonight. 6-0 lead in the 6th.
Jacob Mizorowski had 12 strikeouts against the Dodgers in 6 innings tonight.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Have you seen him pitch yet?
I watched the Skeens Mizorowski game.
Yeah.
He throws some darts.
He looks special.
He sure does.
He really, really does. There it is. 6 innings, 4 hits, a walk, 12 strikeouts.
Yeah, his only run was a Shohei homer.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah, Dodgers are scuffling. I don't see Dodger fans jumping off the friggin' Bay Bridge like Yankee fans are when they blow a lead. Dodgers aren't playing good baseball right now.
No, they're not.
A little bit. Not even a little bit. Another Tampa note from a fantasy standpoint, since this guy's on my roster and he pitched 2 innings in his start on Sunday, is Drew Rasmussen. He has a 150 inning cap. So they're gonna start him and back him up with Boyce for the foreseeable future.
When you say start him, what? Throw 2 innings, 3 innings?
Maybe. It's as ridiculous as Skeens.
Let him pitch. Do they
It's
wipe
as
the
ridiculous
gas
as Skeens having a 3-hitter with 10 strikeouts in 5 innings at 80 pitches the other day and then pulling. It's ridiculous. Just pitch these guys.
Let them pitch.
And if anybody, those 2 guys especially, Skeens throws hard, but Skeens is old school pitching right now. He's not throwing his fastball on every pitch. Rasmussen doesn't even throw hard.
Yeah.
Like Rasmussen's not getting 11 strikeouts in 5 innings. If he gets 5, that's a good start for him. I mean, he doesn't strike a lot of guys out. He just doesn't give up any. He just gives up nothing. You just can't make any kind of contact off the guy.
Okay.
So Jose Ramirez is as the Guardians, are winning tonight. Is at 16 homers, 44 RBIs, and now 23 steals. And he's hitting 300 again. Like, aren't we at a point with Jose Ramirez where you don't get to vote for third base in the American League? He just gets to start.
Well, unless he's on my team because I chose Caminero. But yes. Yeah.
Like, haven't we gotten to that point?
He's a Hall of Famer. That's where we're at with him. He's a Hall of Fame player.
And at the expense of another All-Star, Hunter Brown, who is looking a little bit like a little last year Hunter Brown right now. Like, it's a long season, head-to-head, week by week. It makes you a little bit crazy when elite players have pitchers especially have a bad start. But you just can't. Like, you can't lose your mind. I mean, I did trade DeGrom, and I did react a little bit to how he started last night, but I also don't have confidence. He's not 6 inning, 12 strikeout Jake DeGrom anymore, so he doesn't carry as much value for me. But I'm still very afraid. I'm still very afraid of injury with him, and I don't root for it. I hope he has a fully healthy year and has a good year, but he can do it for somebody else.
And do you realize, I'll go back to Jose Ramirez, career 280 hitter. Last 3 years, 157 games on average, right? Plays every day. 97 runs, 31 homers, 108 RBIs, 30 steals, and his career average of 280 is what he has batted the last 3 years. You talk about Hall of Fame. He's 30 homers away from 300, 35 steals away from 300.
Yeah, well, that's Hall of Fame right there. 300, 300.
Yep.
That's automatic. And he was the first of those guys to sign that early contract.
Yeah.
And has been underpaid from 30 minutes after he signed that contract. mean, maybe Acuna is the other one, but the injuries really hamper that. But not a lot of those guys. Tatis, no. Austin Riley, no. Ozzie Albies, no. Michael Harris, no. Jackson Merrill, too soon. Too soon, right? But he's been hurt already.
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll, not good last year. Injured again this year. Guy just plays baseball. And he doesn't get a night off. I mean, when they want to give him a night off in the field, he DHs because they don't score runs anyway.
All right, so next week,
Wednesday next week,
we're gonna go Wednesday. We'll let everybody enjoy
God forbid we compete with the Summer Classic.
Enjoy the All-Star game. We'll be back Wednesday. Maybe second half look ahead as to what may happen here in Major League Baseball, while at least my fantasy team continues to languish.
As we have a 3-day fantasy week next week, another thing that pisses me off. But
I hate that. Didn't we fix that?
Apparently not.
For the head-to-head?
Head-to-head we might have.
Yeah.
Head-to-head we better have. Because
I'm pretty sure we did. We get the 10-day scoring period. I need that to inflict pain on whoever I'm playing.
That's okay. I need the 3-day week next week for Hunter Green and Roto because he won't pitch in 3 days. He'll pitch after that.
There you go. All right, my man. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
All right. Be good, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us.
Smash the like button, please.
Yes.
Master's tuition isn't subsidized by any grants. Now it's full boat. So let's go.
Got to hit that like button, man.